no longer there. Trump in 2025 is trying to make it illegal for gay people to be in the military again, even though sexual orientation doesn't impact the way a bullet is shot out of a gun. A lot of religious people pretty much believe that AIDS is God's judgment against gay people, even though half the cases every year are through straight people, and that straight cis men are the group of people that are the least likely to know their sexual status or STI status. And they're the least likely to use condoms and safe sex practices. The problem with extreme forms of religion, it's always the us versus them mentality. It's one of the easiest ways cults and religions can seize and maintain control. There are churches in America that teach that we should kill gay people, even though it's now a federal hate crime to harm somebody based on any reason surrounding race, sex, orientation, or beliefs. If you don't like somebody, maybe you need to look at yourself in the mirror and see if maybe the reasons why you don't like somebody is a legitimate reason. When people say homophobia has no place in the church, my response is, then why does it feel so good in the church? Why do churches teach it? As long as churches use the Bible as a symptom or a symbol of their religion, you can't say you don't support anti-gay legislation. When the symbol of your religion says in its own words on the page that it is wrong to be queer. Until we stop reading and using a book that has caused the deaths of millions of people, then you can say you no longer support homophobia. Even Hitler targeted trans, queer, and effeminate people based on bigotry and phobia of all kinds. Homophobia isn't just the fear of something, it's the discrimination, the use of privilege by denying somebody equality. When you're used to privilege, equality feels like oppression. You watch the people who wear "Let's Make America Great Again" hats. These people are not against homophobia or racism. You can't wear a hat like that and see everyone as equal. And you have to be pretty ignorant of history to want to wear a hat like that. Over 2,000 queer people are killed each year. And imagine how many who don't die do self-harm. How many people are depressed, hide, and suffer from extreme forms of mental and psychological pain due to having to hide who they are. How many countries in the world hunt people down and kill them? A lot of the money that Trump uses from his donors, conservative Christians have gone to make criminal cases and laws in places like Nigeria, where conservative money have created laws where you can kill people, execute them through the state for being homosexual or anything that isn't heterosexual. Homophobia is always around. Anytime people believe that non-straight people shouldn't have rights or equal privileges, access to everything everyone else has, it's bigotry. A lot of people hide because of internalized stigma, mental health issues, family rejection, lack of social support, discrimination, victimization, harassment, prejudice, and more than 60% of suicide attempts among non-straight people usually happen within 5 years of realizing they're not heterosexual. So 6 out of 10 people, that's 3 out of 5 people, will attempt to harm themselves due to living in a culture or a religion or a combination of both, because their Bible doesn't permit them to be anything resembling who they are. And it's very common between the ages of 13 and 40 to feel this way. 1 out of 5 teenagers experience depression when they're heterosexual. Can you imagine the pressure heaped on somebody for not being able to conform? Because you can't conform if you aren't one of those people. Bisexual people are 1.5 times more likely to report suicidal thoughts compared to people who are completely different from heterosexual people. Sexual minorities, such as queer and pansexual, were more than twice as likely to report suicidal thoughts and attempts than gay or lesbians. There is no differences in suicidal thoughts, plans, or attempts were found based on race and ethnicity. There are no differences in suicidal behavior between men and women, but in the younger cohort, 3 times as many non-binary people reported suicidal thoughts as those who identified as men and women. When you don't identify, when you're not the status quo of being straight, you pretty much double the odds of you contemplating no longer existing. Our culture does not consistently help people. And Trump has now decided he's no longer going to fund the Trevor Project, which is one of the main ways that queer people are helped in every possible way. Suicide, abandonment, self-harm, questions about the basics of anatomy and orientation. If you haven't learned about the Trevor Project, educate yourself, because at some point it might not exist at all. The sad part about this, not only are they erasing queer people, they're trying to make it illegal to be non-heterosexual. They're trying to make them the villains, like they're trying to steal the kids, when in actual reality, the people who are most likely to hurt kids are the straight people. And this isn't a blame game. These are statistics. The suicide statistics I read, you can find on the Williams Institute, which is associated with the UCLA.edu Institute site. Very easy, a simple Google search, and you'll find it. 18% of queer people, queer youth, have attempted suicide, a rate that is 2 times higher than any other teenage general population. And if you Google the Trevor Project 2023 survey, you'll find the 18% statistic. Bullying, silencing, and erasing the youth of non-heterosexual groups is a contributing factor to suicide. Removing funding for the Trevor Project is going to cause suicides, attempts, and self-harm to skyrocket. We need to create a safe place for people. If people in your family don't accept you, you're doubling your chance at suicide. They found that a sample of 84 transgender youth, those that reported being strongly supported by their parents, had a 93% lower suicide attempt rate. And the ability to get married, to have whatever life you want, has greatly reduced death, suicide, and self-harm for people who are not heterosexual. And you see a lot of these negative, depressive thoughts declining due to education. In grades 9 through 12, 14% of children have attempted suicide every year in the U.S. And it's going down compared to before same-sex marriage wasn't legal. And it only went down, once certain things were legal. And when you have access to what heterosexual privileged people don't even think about, we have a problem. And you look at the countries that persecute and kill people who aren't heterosexual, you're going to see the highest suicide statistics. Churches that I've gone to have completely erased queer people. They've erased being asexual. And it's always about men always want sex and women don't. The problem with that is it's not factual. There's a good percentage of men that have lower sex drives than women. And a lot of men don't want sex at all. I mean, 1% of the world population, approximately 80 million people,